Hi, I'm Randy. This is The Literate Texan, where I talk about books and literature, highbrow and lowbrow and everything in between. And I watch YouTube videos by other people. And this month there's an event going on. It's called Horror Mayhem, where we're celebrating shorter works of horror. I will include details about the reading event in the description below. But in short, it's real simple. In the month of May, you read short horror fiction. So we're talking about short stories, novellas, and even novels. But the goal is to keep them under 250 pages or less. So the point of this video is, and it was inspired by none other than the great Michael K. Vaughan, who everyone should be subscribing to because he's brilliant and his channel is never anything short of incredibly entertaining. But he made a video where he asked his readers and his viewers to choose what he reads next for Horror Mayhem. So I'm going to ask you to do the same thing, and I'm going to give you a list of books to choose from. And in the comments, if you don't mind, tell me what you'd like me to read for Horror Mayhem, and I'll do my best to read it and talk about it on the channel. So this is your chance to get some input. Now, a lot of the books that I have lined up as potential candidates for Horror Mayhem are on my Kindle. And so I'm going to show some of those to you, even though the picture doesn't always show up great from the Kindle to the camera. This is what we're going to do. This is the best we can do. I have everything by Edgar Allan Poe. So if there's something specific by Edgar Allan Poe that you want to see me read and comment on, just drop it into the notes there. Let's see, where is my list? Where's my list? Where's my list? Okay, there's my list. All right, so I got a whole bunch of stuff here. One of these looks really interesting to me. It's a Paul Tremblay novel called A Head Full of Ghosts. Oops, thought burn it. Look at that. This machine goes wonky on me a little bit. Forgive me, it's going to take me a second to pull this screen back up. Get up there. Now, come on. On the side, it tells this thing whether I'm logged in watching it or not. And it's not always really good about that. So, Paul Tremblay wrote I believe it may be a collection of short stories. It's called A Head Full of Ghosts. Well, okay, it's called A Head Full of Ghosts, but underneath that it says a novel by Paul Tremblay. I have not read this. Damn, darn it. If it's going to do this, I'm going to get mad. So, I just finished reading for Horror Mayhem The Cabin at the End of the World, which was also written by Paul Tremblay. And gotta say, I didn't much care for it. So, I've heard that A Head Full of Ghosts is better. If you want me to read it and tell you what I think, speak up in the comments. Like I said, I already read The Cabin at the End of the Woods. Didn't much care for it. I saw the movie. I didn't much care for it either, to tell you the truth. But what else have we got here that's a possibility? We've got a novel here that was published about the same time as Dracula. It's called The Beetle. And I don't really know much about what this is about. But my friend Greg swears by this book. I think he swears by it. But The Beetle, a mystery by Richard Marsh. And I downloaded this off of Gutenberg for free. And I don't know anything about it. But if you want me to read it, I do love that era. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I've also got a Stephen Graham Jones book here. The Long Trial of Nolan Dugavel. Very intriguing title, very intriguing cover art. Don't know anything about it. Have no idea what it's about. But I would love to read it. It looks really cool. I'm in the middle of a book called Lullaby right now, which was written by Chuck Palahniuk. And I love it. It's absolutely terrific. This may be the third or fourth time I've read it. You can look for a review video for that fairly soon. Let me see here. Let me show you all the cover art. I think the cover art on this is really nice. Because it's just got his name and the name of the book and a dead bird. The dead bird makes a lot more sense once you've read the book. So those are all options. Then I've got some anthologies here too of specific authors. And these are all potential, reads for me that if you want to see me read, you can leave it in the comments. Oh, I hate this machine so much. I don't. Actually, I love this machine. It made it possible for me to read I don't know how many books when I was in the hospital last year. So I've also got Let's see here. I started but did not finish The Island of Dr. Moreau. If you'd like to see me finish that and review it, I certainly will. I've got the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. I've got the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft. I have got Frankenstein. And then there is Charles Beaumont collection. It's a Penguin Classic. And Charles Beaumont wrote a lot for The Twilight Zone. But there's cover art for that. I think that's a beautiful cover. It's really surreal. It looks really cool. And I've read a couple of the short stories at the beginning of it, and it's pretty interesting, man. He's a weirdo, man. That stuff's out there. So that's a possibility. And then I've got a Richard Matheson collection. If you want to see me read some Richard Matheson, talk about it, we can do that too. Let's see here. I'm going to get this thing to stay lit. It might kill me. I'm just kidding. It won't kill me. All right, so what else have we got here? We've got The Best of Richard Matheson, also from Penguin Classics. And we have got Our Lady of Darkness by Fritz Leiber. That looks cool. Haunted is a collection of short stories by Chuck Palahniuk that I've read before. It's really disturbing. Please don't make me read that one. I've got Hauntings by Vernon Lee. It's a collection of stories. I've got Zombie Bake Off, which was written by Stephen Graham Jones. The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. If you're a horror aficionado, you've probably heard of a lot of these already. The Picture of Dorian Gray would be a cool one to have me read. You know, that might be fun. But anyway, if there's something that I haven't mentioned, Burnt Offerings is a great haunted house book. It was partially the inspiration for The Shining. And that would be a cool one to read again. It was one of the scariest movies I'd ever seen when I was a little kid. But I love the cover art on this one here. It's really cool. Yeah, but Burnt Offerings is great. Like I say, it was the inspiration for The Shining in a lot of different ways, and it was really good. The Manitou by Graham Masterton, I read a while back. It was really good. I've got several short story collections by Stephen King. I've got Night Shift in the other room, but I've also got You Like It Darker, If It Bleeds, and Different Seasons, all of which are collections of stories by Stephen King, which are under 250 pages. So there's a lot to choose from just on my e-reader. But if you really want to have some fun, let's look at some of these hardcovers that I've got. This one is called The House Next Door by Anne River Siddons. Another one that I've read multiple times before. Another one that was recommended by Stephen King. And this is a really cool haunted house novel, which is distinct from a ghost story. Ghost story and a haunted house novel are not the same things. And I should do a video about the differences at some point. But at any rate, this is a unique, as far as I know, haunted house novel because it's told from the perspective of the neighbors rather than from the perspective of the residents of the house. And so they watch three families come and go in this house next door. And their involvement in it is a little more interesting than all that. But I don't want to spoil any of it. But that would be a really cool one to read and talk about it. And it's also very short. This is a really cool book. It's called Alfred Hitchcock Presents Stories for Late at Night. In the 1960s, and you'll notice there's no cover, and even the cover that it has is all tore up. But I got it for like $2, so it was cheap. And during the 60s, Alfred Hitchcock would lend his name and appearance to these anthologies of short stories, these horror stories and stuff. And this one's got some really cool stuff in it from some really cool authors. I'm just going to go through the table of contents and tell you about these. My mom collected these, and I read a lot of this stuff as a kid. But Daddy got rid of all of Mama's books when she died, so I would have liked to have saved all of these. But I may, I may at some point start collecting these editions because they're really cool. But listen to the names of the authors in here. Jerome Bigsby's got a story in here called It's a Good Life. If you're a horror aficionado, you surely read that one at some point. The Whole Town is Sleeping by Ray Bradbury. We all know who he is. Roald Dahl, the guy who wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. No, Roald Dahl didn't write Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But he's got a story in here called The Sound Machine. What I understand is that Roald Dahl's horror stories are really creepy. I don't recall having ever read any of them. Then there's a novelette called Vintage Season by C.L. Moore. C.L. Moore's a famous science fiction writer. I don't know what this story's about, but I'm going to find out, I hope. Then we've got William Hope Hodgson, The Whistling Room. He's a famous one. M.R. James has got The Ash Tree. Frank Belknap Long, Second Night Out. So, I mean, these are big names in the horror field from the turn of the century, a lot of these. This is one that I'm really, really excited about, and it is a terrific novelette called The Fly by George Langland. And you may or may not have ever read the short story, but I guarantee you, you've at least heard of the movie that stars Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. It was directed by David Cronenberg, who's one of my favorite directors. But before that version, there was a version from the late 1950s that starred Vincent Price, and it was really good too. And they're reasonably faithful to the short story, believe it or not. Reasonable. They're all scary. Every one of them's scary. The novelette, the short story, and and both movies are both scary. So, and then we get a little later on in here, and we've got Henry Slezar with A Cry from the Penthouse. The Man Who Liked Dickens by Evelyn Waugh. I mean, she was a literary author, but she became famous towards the end for writing really great horror novels. And then the book closes with a novel by Margaret Miller called The Iron Gates, which I don't know anything about. But this Alfred Hitchcock collection, Alfred Hitchcock Presents Stories for Late at Night, this is going to be a really cool one. I may or may not read that one anyway, just because I'm so curious. I love anthologies, and I love getting multiple authors in the same book. I've also got The Damnation Game by Clive Barker, which I read when I was in my 20s and really enjoyed. I'd like to read it again. I don't think I'm going to get all the horror finished that I want to finish during Horror Mayhem, but I'm going to do my damnedest. I also have a copy of a novel by Stephen King called The Outsider, which I started years ago, but clearly didn't finish. You can see the bookmark in there. But I liked what I had read of it. It just slowed to a crawl. The pacing was off. Or that may have just been in my head at the time. I don't know. But I wouldn't mind giving it another shot, that's for sure. You know, Stephen King on his worst day is better than most authors on their best day. I've also got this book by China Mieville called Kraken, which is supposed to be funny and scary at the same time. China Mieville is a terrific writer. And then finally, this might be the best horror novel I've ever read. And I've read a lot of horror novels. Keep in mind, I used to own a bookstore that specialized in horror fiction. It was called Eerie Books was the name of my bookstore. The website's still online at eeriebooks.com. But this is called Geek Love by Catherine Nunn. And it won the National Book Award. Okay, it is rare for a horror novel to win a National Book Award. Okay, let me tell you that right up front. But it's a really interesting premise, too. The main character is the paterfamilias, the father of a family that works in a carnival. And what he does is he gives his wife medications that are known to cause birth defects so that they have children that either aren't viable or they have children with birth defects that they can put in the freak show. And it gets crazier from there. So, I will list those in the description. You can go in and choose what I'm going to read next. Just leave it in the comments, folks. I love having you guys involved in my reading. That makes it so much more fun than just the solitary activity that it was before. So yeah, leave me a comment. If you like what you saw here today, subscribe to the channel and get all the updates. And I'll be back with more videos tomorrow, the next day. But before then, I want to ask you to do two things for me. Okay, folks? Stay sexy and stay hydrated. It's so much more important than you think. See you soon.